Morning, everyone. Welcome to the 7:30 meeting for Lynchburg City Council for today, May 26th. If you have any thoughts right now, we're going to go to Vice Mayor Dolan. I'm sorry, I saw the clerk coming and it distracted me. I'm sorry. All right. Please stand for invocation by Vice Mayor Dolan, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I invite you to join me in prayer as we give thanks and ask for guidance in each of our own spiritual traditions. Creator of the universe, once again we come before you as we ask for your favor to remind us of our commitment to our community. To all in leadership and authority, grant wisdom and grace in the exercise of their duties. To those who work tirelessly to balance our resources in the best possible manner, grant wisdom and foresight. To those wrestling with the difficult decisions affecting our community, grant integrity, wisdom, balance, and respect for all as they carry out their responsibilities to better the lives of our fellow citizens. Let us express our gratitude for our first responders, those in the medical profession, our essential workers, and all those who continue to be on the front lines while we journey through the challenges of this pandemic. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Right now we have recognitions, and I will just note to everyone, because I tend to see this after our meetings, it's a little bit easier to read a lot without the mask. So I'm taking the mask off for a moment just for our viewing audience, and I will put it back on in a few, but I just wanted people to know that. Some will agree and some won't, but I just wanted you to know that. We have recognitions right now, and first is for Trish Roth, Communications and Public Engagement, and Krista Boothby, Office of Economic Development and Tourism, who won first place from the National Association of Government Communicators for the Office of Economic Development's annual report. So we are pleased to recognize these two city employees tonight, and both recently received this award. And for the 2019 annual report for the Office of Economic Development, Joanne Martin, Director of Communications and Public Engagement, has a few words, and then I have certificates to present to both of them.
Mayor Tweedy, Vice Mayor Dolan, members of council, good evening. I want to thank you for this opportunity to recognize one of my employees. First of all, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I am extremely proud of all of my staff, especially during this challenging time during the pandemic. But tonight I am proud to have you recognize Trish Roth, the graphic designer with Communications and Public Engagement, and Krista Boothby with the Office of Economic Development and Tourism, and the Director Economic Development, Margette Upshur, will also come up. They received the first place award for their work on the Office of Economic Development's 2019 annual report from the National Association of Government Communicators, or NAGC. That is a national association of local, state, and federal government agencies, so the competition was pretty stiff. We're especially proud because in addition to placing first in that category for the annual report, Trish also redesigned the branding logo for the organization's award program. She also has redesigned the branding logo, but you also have seen her work at the Lynchburg Museum, the Lynchburg Airport, numerous city advertising, billboards, and brochures. The city is indeed lucky to have her on board, and we are very proud of her work. Margette?
I thought I would hand you, if you didn't already have it, a copy of this annual report. You can open it up to the middle. It had a poster in it. Thank you so much. It had a poster in it, as well as it helped kick off our I Am Lynchburg campaign. This is what we're going to use for ambassadors for our tourism program, and we're currently using it with employers that go above and beyond, and having them just give a little testimonial of how they're making it through this crisis, or innovative things they're doing and asking them to hold it up. I think you saw in one of our newsletters, we had Danny Givens, and we didn't have this logo yet. So he wrote it on a piece of paper. These are times when we make do. Anyway, I just want to say how incredibly grateful the Office of Economic Development and Tourism is for our collaboration with communications and marketing. Trish is indeed an incredibly talented individual, and she and Krista, this was really a true collaboration. So they come together and think about what's going to go in this report, and then Trish works her magic and designs it. So as Joanne said, the award that they won was on a local, state, and national level. And I'll just let you know how much this has had an impact is we have already had Centra come and ask us for 100 copies of these to use for employee attraction and retention. So I can't say, like Joanne, I can't say enough about my entire staff, but Krista, thank you so much for everything you do all day. And Trish, thank you so very much. She is really a talented individual, but tax dollars well spent, collaboration done. Thank you. Yes, please stand up, Joanne. Thank you.
And while you're standing, thank you for the hand clap. We have a certificate of excellence presented to Krista Boothby for being recognized with a first place award in the Blue Pencil and Gold Screen Awards by the National Association of Government Communicators for her work on the City of Lynchburg's Office of Economic Development and Tourism's 2019 annual report. Signed, Mayor Trineo Tweedy, May 26, 2020. There is that one. If we could get you to come up to receive that. Councilmember Wilder's been helping me out on the proclamations and the social distancing and all of that. So, and again, a certificate of excellence presented to Trish Roth for being recognized with a first place award in the Blue Pencil and Gold Screen Awards by the National Association of Government Communicators for her work also on the City of Lynchburg's Office of Economic Development and Tourism's 2019 annual report. Thank you. All right. Thank you both so much, and these are great pieces of material, great sellers for our city, so thank you. Next, we have the Spring 2020 Co-Starters Graduates. So that's the big bunch sitting right back out there in the crowd. Thank you. We are so pleased to recognize tonight the Spring 2020 cohort of Co-Starters graduates. Co-Starters is a 9-week program offered by the Office of Economic Development and Tourism that equips aspiring entrepreneurs with the insights, relationships, and tools needed to turn business ideas into action and to turn a passion into a sustainable and thriving business. This nationally based program is designed to jumpstart entrepreneurial ideas and provide a foundation for success, all within a community of other entrepreneurs working together. This spring marked our 5-year anniversary with the Co-Starters program, graduating 103 entrepreneurs, many who have launched new businesses in the Lynchburg community. Through this year's Co-Starters class looked a little bit different because it was completed through a virtual format. The facilitators and participants showed their dedication and tenacity in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic by continuing to meet weekly, even if not in person. The current crisis has given this Co-Starters cohort an opportunity to learn in real time how to manage a business and solve problems in the midst of a challenging situation. We are proud of their willingness to stick with it and the program in the midst of these difficult times. I will now invite Anthony Andrews and Jawanza Hall to the front to hand out the certificates. So as I call your name, please come up to receive your certificate of recognition, and please remain standing. This is a little bit different. Usually we give handshakes and all of that, and we're going to somewhat give you that. So just a little bit from the distant level, though, but thank you. I'm going to first call Amy Corbett. Next is Jennifer Demeen. Congratulations. Keisha Simon. Randy Sass. Seth McGuire. Talia Connor. And Tanya Bryant. Thank you, and many thanks also to our spring facilitators. I know that's not Anthony Andrews right there, so we see that. And Jawanza Hall, thank you so much. And to those in the Lynchburg business community that have served as mentors, speakers, and service providers for this program, congratulations. And I'll just give a minute if someone would like to have a few words to say on behalf of the class or anything you'd like for us to know. All right, thank you. Not all at one time. Yes,
That's
please
okay.
go right ahead.
Okay. Unfortunately, Anthony wasn't able to make it tonight. He is a firefighter, so he's on duty. I administer the program. My name is Emmeline. And on March 9th, a group of 13 people met in person for the first time for the first week of Co-Starters. We were really eager for the next 9 weeks, and then COVID-19 happened. We could no longer be in a room together, and we weren't sure how to continue, but our facilitators, Anthony Andrews and Jawanza Hall, and the 7 remaining participants persisted, and we continued the next 9 weeks in a virtual format together. We laughed together, and we cried together, and most importantly, we grew our businesses together. A couple of weeks ago, 7 entrepreneurs pitched their business startup ideas, and tonight we have 7 new co-starter graduates. Even when the future seems unclear, our city is full of starters, creators, and entrepreneurs. From what we started as a room full of strangers quickly turned into a tight-knit network of 7 new business owners in the city of Lynchburg. I want to give a special thank you to the city of Lynchburg for supporting this program and all of the class speakers who took time from their busy schedules to assist these businesses. And of course to our facilitators, Anthony and Jawanza, for showing true leadership during this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just a plug for the next class, OpportunityLynchburg.com is when people can learn about more on how to join the next class. Thank you. Next, I have a proclamation for Emergency Medical Services, or EMS Week. Whereas emergency medical service is a vital public service and a direct link in the chain of survival, and whereas the members of the Lynchburg Fire Department, paramedics, intermediates, and emergency medical technicians are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas emergency medical services has grown to fill a gap for all citizens by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventive medicine, follow-up care, and technology that improves patient outcomes, and whereas the emergency medical services system is an integral part of the overall health and well-being of our entire community that works collaboratively with our local healthcare system and partner agencies, and whereas the members of the Lynchburg Fire Department engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills, and whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and accomplishments of all the talented uniformed employees of the Lynchburg Fire Department, Therefore, I, Trenae L. Tweedy, Mayor of the City of Lynchburg, and in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 17th through the 23rd, 2020, Emergency Medical Services EMS Week with the theme EMS Strong, Ready Today, Preparing for Tomorrow, and encourage our community to thank the men, women, and men who proudly wear the Lynchburg Fire Department uniform. If I could ask Chief Wormser to come up and accept this, and please continue to celebrate them even though those dates were the 17th through the 23rd. We are recognizing them this week and beyond. Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of council, it was, in fact, last week. However, with so many awards to be given out, it's hard to get a word in edgewise. So it's super awesome to see all the great work that's being done around the city. As a fire chief, I'm both humbled and honored to lead such a great group of first responders, and want you to know that the uniformed members of the Lynchburg Fire Department are incredibly talented and place service above self every day to ensure that our residents, businesses, and visitors have some of the best pre-hospital care in the Commonwealth. Our team works collaboratively with the local health department, Central Health, and the many other internal and external partners to ensure positive outcomes whenever possible. We'll continue to provide that great state-of-the-art care, and thank you all for your support.
Thank you. All right, next we have a quick recognition, but we wanted to recognize the Mayor's Youth Council members who are graduating seniors, and so we have just a brief slide point for a few of them, and this is recognizing them during a different time of graduation, a different year. 2020 is a great year for them. We're going to make it as great and as celebratory as we can. Jackson Brestel is the current treasurer of the Mayor's Youth Council and served as a member for 2 years, graduating from E.C. Glass High School. He is attending Roanoke College. He has not chosen a major of study as of yet. Gracie Patterson served as the Mayor's Youth Council member for 2 years, graduating from Liberty Christian Academy, attending Samford University in Birmingham, Alabama to study secondary education. Ms. Landis Thompson has served as a Mayor's Youth Council member for 3 years, graduating from Virginia Episcopal School, and is attending Elon University in Elon, North Carolina. She has not chosen a major of study as of yet, but is leaning towards education or communications. Next is Annie Townsend, current president of the Mayor's Youth Council and served as a member for 2 years, graduating from E.C. Glass High School, and is attending Virginia Military Institute to major in civil engineering. Woohoo! On my council, there we go. And following along with her is Virginia Townsend, which is she's the current secretary of the Mayor's Youth Council and served as a member for 2 years, graduating from E.C. Glass High School. She will also be attending Virginia Military Institute to major in chemistry. That's good too. Yay. So if we could just give a hand clap and congratulations to the Mayor's Youth Council members. Thank you, Dr. Wodika, for serving as the slide. Yep. Clicker. And thank you to all of the Mayor's Youth Council members. They put in a lot of work this year, and they've built a bond. And thank you to Renee Chalmers, who served as the coordinator for the program and helped us throughout the year. So thank you very much. Next, if I could take the liberty, I'm going to recognize Mr. Irwin, who has someone he'd like for us to meet. So I wanted to take this moment to allow for that introduction.
Council, it's my pleasure to introduce Matthew Frieden. Matthew just joined the office as the new Deputy City Attorney. He is experienced in local government law, having spent the last 4.5 years as the Bluefield Town Attorney. We believe he'll be a real asset to the city, and if any of the members of council are ever in a need of assistance, please do not hesitate to contact Matthew.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Lynchburg. I know. All right, thank you very much. Welcome to Lynchburg, and we won't bother you too much for the first couple of weeks. Okay, all right. Thank you. All right, tonight's City Council agenda is divided into 3 sections: consent agenda, public hearings, and general business. First section is the consent agenda. This section includes routine items, and all items may be approved by one vote. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor, move the consent agenda.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. Ayes have it. Next is the public hearings. This section includes all public hearings as required by law or as council may direct. Procedures for this: staff will make a presentation. Comments will then be solicited from the public. An individual speaker shall have 3 minutes to speak. If the speaker represents a group, the speaker shall have 5 minutes. A speaker representing a group shall identify that group at the beginning of his or her remarks, and a group may have only one spokesperson. Each speaker shall clearly state his or her name and locality of residence. Upon the conclusion of public comments, the public hearing will be closed and the matter referred to council for deliberation. First is a public hearing to adopt a resolution approving the submission of substantial amendment number 2 to the fiscal year 2020 program year and the annual action plan for the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, and Home Program to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, and amend the fiscal year 2020 Community Development Block Grant budget with resources of $420,487 from the Community Development Block Grant, Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act, or the CARES Act, the CDBG CV program funds. Ms. Walker will provide a summary of the request.
Good evening, Mayor Tweedy, Vice Mayor Dolan, and members of City Council. As you said, tonight, City Council is conducting a public hearing to receive citizen comments regarding the Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act, CARES Act, CDBG, CV funds. The city will receive from HUD $420,487 of CARES Act funds. These funds are to be used to prevent, prepare for, and respond to COVID-19. In accordance with HUD guidelines and the Citizen Participation Plan, city staff solicited and accepted applications for projects utilizing these funds. A summary and a list of the proposed projects have been provided to you. Due to the time constraints and HUD guidelines to move the allocation of these funds along in a timely manner, the Community Development Advisory Committee, CDAC, did not conduct a public meeting. However, the applications were provided to CDAC with an opportunity to comment on the proposed projects. One member of CDAC responded through email with his comments and questions, and I spoke on the telephone with the remaining members. While there is no formal recommendations for allocating funds to these projects, overall there was a majority consensus among CDAC for support of the proposed projects. A public notice for this meeting was published in the News in Advance and through social media. City staff has not received any written public comments prior to this meeting. However, there is one voicemail message that the Clerk of Council will provide to you during the public hearing. At the conclusion of this public hearing, as members of CDAC, Council members Wright and Wilder will provide you with their comments and recommendations.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor? All right. Thank you.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Mayor Tweedy, Vice Mayor Dolan, and members of council. I'm Charlotte Lester, the Neighborhood Center's manager for the Department of Parks and Recreation. I want to first thank you all for your past support for our Community Development Block Grant proposals, most recently in the last few years, the facility renewal projects. I want to thank you for your support for youth and families and for building strong neighborhoods. This particular request for coronavirus funds is for the Summer Lunch and Play program. It is an adaptation of the traditional summer day camp that we offer. It's an adaptation in response to the coronavirus. So the program is a very much a light touch in the great outdoors at the Neighborhood Center parks. Building on the Pickup Lunch Foundation that we've had in place since March 30th, working with the Lynchburg City Schools. So this particular request is specifically to purchase recreation to-go items for distribution to youth and families at the 6 neighborhood centers. Examples of these items would be classic recreation play such as balls, hoops, sidewalk chalk, and other classic recreation items for distribution to our neighborhood kids. So while we're not able to necessarily play with them at the centers, we're able to send them home with items for recreation. Also, the request is to purchase recreation items for small group outdoor activities as we are able to safely gather again in accordance with the Forward Virginia phased reopening plan. We'll need to have games and equipment kind of return to the roots of our neighborhood centers and services with supervised play, again, in an outdoor setting. So in summary, I'm asking for your consideration for this valuable service to keep kids in our low to moderate income neighborhoods healthy, active, and engaged throughout this challenging summer. It's a new way, and it is in response to the coronavirus. And we thank you for your consideration of this request and for your demonstrated support of our youth, our families, and our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor?
I'm gonna take my mask off because I can't breathe. Good evening, Mayor Tweedy, Vice Mayor Dolan, and the remainder of City Council. My name is Denise Cruz. I'm with Lynchburg Community Action Group, and I am asking for your help in providing assistance to individuals who are suffering from the COVID-19 who have lost employment. As you know, throughout the media, we've seen where eviction rates are up. Court has already started back up. We have been on the front lines since day one. We receive, on average, 15 calls a day of individuals looking for rental assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance. With these funds, we will be able to help our citizens of Lynchburg remain in their home. We have asked for 3 months of assistance with rent for 15 individuals, 3 months of mortgage for 15 individuals, and ability to help 25 individuals with utility costs. That includes your water bill, light bill, hookup, whatever is needed. We are working in collaboration with Interfaith Outreach and Salvation Army. We know the resources are few, so we work in cohort with them to make sure that we aren't duplicating individuals and verifying that they haven't received assistance from any other agency at that time. And we believe we have a long-established relationship of collaboration work to serve the citizens of Lynchburg. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor?
Good evening, Mayor Tweedy, Vice Mayor Dolan, and members of City Council. I'm Shawn Farmer, Executive Director of Interfaith Outreach Association, and I'm here today to tell you about our proposal to also assist citizens of Lynchburg with evictions, utility terminations as well. This is an opportunity for people who have been out of work during this time when so many people in our community have been unemployed, to be able to offer financial assistance with their evictions so that landlords in our community can get the money that they deserve. Utility companies such as AEP or the City of Lynchburg and Water can also get the money that they need from people who have been unable to pay. We've been in existence for over 60 years in our community, working with agencies such as LNCAG and the Salvation Army, texting, emailing, calling. We're in constant communication throughout the day to make sure that citizens have the resources so that they can continue to stay safe in their homes. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? All right, thank you. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? All right, with no opposition, I will turn to our clerk of council. Is there a phone call?
Yes, we have one
Okay,
phone call.
thank you. Phone call or emails if we have any, but.
Your call cannot be completed.
Not that.
Enter your PIN. You have one new voice message. New messages. Message 1.
Good evening, honorable members of council. My name is Sarah Quarantoto, and I am the executive director of Miriam's House. I would like to thank the members of CDAC and the city staff who have reviewed the CDBG COVID-19 applications for funding. I appreciate the opportunity to apply for funds to assist households who become homeless due to COVID-19. If approved, Miriam's House will use these funds to provide households with short-term rental assistance so they can get back on their feet. Our program staff will leverage employment opportunities, job skill training programs, and other partnerships to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on these vulnerable households. Thank you for this consideration of funding.
Received.
All right.
I don't have any emails.
All right, thank you. With CDOC, did not have a formal meeting, but was given the opportunity to comment. And so I will entertain a motion from the chair of the Community Development Advisory Committee for further action and discussion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to also thank Ms. Walker, Ms. Shepard, for making this application process possible and for sort of abiding by HUD's request to move these funds along expeditiously. So thank you very much for facilitating all of that, and of course to the CDAC members who took the time and care to review the applications and submit their comments. As Ms. Walker said, there was consensus among the committee members that these are worthy and valuable projects for the funding. Most of it's going to go towards utility and rent assistance, which is desperately needed in some of the other really worthy projects like the one that Ms. Lester mentioned and others. So I look forward to hearing what Councilmember Wilder has to say, but I'm very pleased to recommend these to council for approval.
Thank you. And prior to council member, the public hearing is now closed. I wanted to make that note so that we can let you all know that. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. Councilmember Wilder.
Yes, again, I want to thank Ms. Walker and the staff for all the work they did. One thing about this COVID situation, things are coming fast. And you have to get things out fast, get them back fast, and then everything, process all the numbers and applications. So I want to thank all the different nonprofits that work together to submit proposals for this so we can help our city in addressing this current pandemic issue. So I'm thankful for all that, and also for all the ones that submitted the applications. The only question I had was just about duplication, because I noticed some were doing rental assistance, some were doing utilities, things of that nature, but I was assured that I was glad to hear that they're working together with Interfaith and LNCAG and all the different agencies are working together in this project. So I'm so glad to hear that. So it would be a duplication of efforts. Sometimes you have people going from one agency to another agency and those kind of things. But I'm just glad to know that they're working together to help the citizens in our community.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilmember Helgeson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As I look at this, a lot of the projects that were mentioned, I think, are great. The one that I'm wondering if we could actually take that to actually the needs. As I see the 40,000 for a communications and awareness campaign of coronavirus, I don't think anybody in the entire galaxy isn't aware of it. So it's 24-hour news cycle. It is everywhere. Millions of people have been laid off of their jobs. Thousands here have been laid off of their jobs. We got 1,100 people that are in danger of getting their water bill shut off. So I understand sometimes we have marketing assessments and whatnot, but spending $40,000 that could actually go to some of the nonprofits that are working, I think would be better utility for these funds. And especially when a lot of them that are counting on resources and revenue, they count on resources, revenue from people that are working. And these people aren't working, a little harder to donate because you have less discretionary funds. So I don't know if there's a way or a mechanism to kind of allocate that 40,000 over some of those other groups that are actually doing some kind of boots on the ground, but I think that would be probably a better utilization of these resources if we're able to do that. So I'd recommend that we amend this, if that's okay, to take that 40,000 and give it to those 4 groups that are in there that are actually looking at rental assistance. They're looking at keeping people from being evicted from their houses, like Interfaith Outreach and LNCAG. Miriam's house as well. So is that something that we could do? I know we didn't really have a public hearing on it. This is the time, or the CDAC did not have a public hearing. But I think that would be probably a better utilization than $40,000 on marketing campaign, so.
Thank you. Councilmember Wright?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I appreciate very much Councilman Helgeson's point. I'm wondering if the city might want to offer what they would use the $40,000 for.
Yeah.
$39,990, because I was looking at the interfaith outreach. $40,000. We're not talking about the interfaith outreach. We're talking about the communications and marketing, $39,990. Thanks.
And the title may be a little misleading. We're not talking about having people aware about the virus and what it is. We're talking making people aware of the resources that's available. We know that people low income, moderate income sometimes don't know what resources are out there. And, there's a lot of talk about people staying at home, but people low income, moderate income are usually in those jobs that don't allow them to stay at home. And they usually are people who may not have the same access to resources as some of us may have access to. So we want to make sure we're working with all of these agencies and with United Way that people have access to that information, so they know that if they need some help with rent or with paying their water bill, here are the agencies that you can go to help. If you need access to health care, here's some of the agencies you can go to. So it's not saying this is what COVID is and this is what it does. This is access to resources. So to get that information and to make sure it gets to where they are. So we would do water bill inserts and put information. In fact, we have one coming out soon. So water bill inserts. We would do door hangers. We would use billboards, but not that much, but only in targeted areas. So it's putting information in the hands of people that need it, not about the disease itself so much, but about here are all the resources that are available to you. This is how you can qualify for those. This is where you can go to get those resources that you need.
Finish up too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just if I can finish up. So with that, I think, as Ms. Cruz just pointed out a minute ago in the public hearing, she said they're getting 15 calls for people a day. And so I think there's lots of people that are calling these agencies. So anyway, I'd like to see it actually going to the folks that are getting the calls. I understand the mechanisms, but I'd rather see it be utilized to actually, when they're getting 15 calls a day, there's lots of people that are requesting. So thank you.
Vice Mayor Dolan, Councilmember Wilder, and followed by Vice Mayor Dolan.
I just think it's so important that, it says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. And I think it's so important for our community to be aware of things, especially this COVID has been primarily really targeted African American community. So in communicating that, make sure in our communication efforts that we're addressing that in our community, to make sure African Americans especially are aware of the dangers of the COVID situation, because since they've been really hit hard in those communities. And I think just that so all the people will know about the resources that are available. I get calls every day from business leaders, and also make sure we're also connecting with the economic development as well, because I had a business leader to ask me about questions. Well, what can they do? What do they qualify for? So I referred them to the website. I did it on my Facebook page and connected with that. But again, I get so many questions from different people asking me what resources are out there. When is City Hall going to open up? That was a question I had yesterday. I was asked you before I left today. So all those issues and questions keep coming up, and it got to be some kind of a coordinated effort that we can let our community and our citizens know about that, about the resources, about the coordinated efforts that's going forth to this, where you can go for this resource, so we can always have some knowledge, so our people won't perish. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Dolan.
So my only comment was that if you're ever involved in any nonprofits around town, is that the biggest hurdle they have is that people really do not know where the resources are. You can talk to anybody that's running a nonprofit around town, and that's what you hear all the time, is that I think this is a fantastic idea to make sure that people know where to go for help, and they really do not know where to go. Thank you.
Councilmember Pero.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question. So you said mailers?
Yes.
Like physical mailers? To targeted areas of the city or dispersed?
Targeted areas of the city, because this is supposed to be targeted. Some of the things that we do will get to everyone, but we also will spend most of this to target areas of the city. We have to work with GIS and get to make sure that we're targeting our messages to certain areas in the city to meet the guidelines of this grant, which is to low and moderate income.
Yes,
But we
ma'am.
know if we put a billboard up, it won't be just low income, but we will, some billboards are located in some of more fiscally stressed areas of the city, and we'll target that.
I'm going to concentrate on mailings for just a second. So you're planning on having mailings to selected households in the city?
We will try to do that. We will look at that and make sure, but we want to make sure that it's financially feasible to do that.
Would it be possible for other departments to partner with you to put some of their information that they need to get out to those same households in that same
Of
envelope
course.
that you're paying
For instance,
for?
like with the water department, we know right now we've put like a moratorium on disconnecting water. And we plan to send, and working with the water department, to send a letter out to gently remind you, even though we're not disconnecting, we encourage you to go ahead and pay if you can. But we can also put out other information and work with other departments. I mean, that's what we do, is work with other
Such as
departments.
the new trash system. I'm just wondering if maybe you'd be open to other departments partnering or piggybacking on your mailing campaign.
Of course, because that's, I mean, we work with all departments to work
That
with
may
them.
help some of their budgets for mailing.
Exactly.
Just thinking.
We work with all the departments. For instance, we know once the courts opened up, there was a plethora of evictions, when we want to work with legal aid to let people know about that as well. So we're open to working. That's how we want to, as Margette said about collaborating, that's how we can be successful about working together, because everyone is stressed with not having the money to do what they need to do. We want to work with all departments to get, the messages out.
It would be nice if we could use some of these dedicated dollars to help other departments not spend some of their non-dedicated dollars.
Exactly.
So, just thinking. Thanks.
Councilmember Hagelson?
Another question, I guess, on that, if you're doing a mailing, letting people know, and then people now call or check, and then there's no more money because all of this marketing campaign was very effective. So now the money is gone when you're targeting a big group, because the CDBG area is a pretty large area with lots of people. And so with thousands of people in this area, all getting mailings, and they don't have the resources to actually assist, I'm really kind of at a loss on this one now.
Well, one thing I will want to say, that this is not a marketing campaign, because marketing, we're trying to sell.
Yep.
We're not trying to sell. It's a public education campaign.
But my point is, if you give lots of people information of where to get help from this right here, and so now they go to get help, but Lynn CAG is already out of money because they had already enough people that were standing in line. So,
Well, not everything is getting help with rent. Some things are, this is where you need to go for, if you have health issues, this may be where you need to go. If you need assistance with your child with educational things, this is where you can get help. If you're about to be evicted and you need legal assistance, this is where, so it's a lot more than just help with rent or mortgage.
And if I could just interrupt and follow up to that, I was in on a meeting with some local community folks, some community leaders, advocates, retired folks, business leaders, and they were not aware of the resources in the community to help people that were coming to them. So in this unprecedented time, there are people who did not ever think they would need assistance who are needing assistance. And folks that are helping direct and navigate them are some of these people who drive by, some of these people who are the collateral that will see this information and share it within other demographics in our city. And so a lot of folks who are now unemployed, who are needing workforce services, who don't know how to navigate, it's more of an awareness campaign, especially because I talk personally to folks who are helping people that have been out of the loop, if you would, for a while, and they don't know where the resources are or how they're connected together. So I think some of it, we're trying to narrowly target down this campaign, information campaign, to just the people who need. It's really a community education, public education during an unprecedented time of information and resources that can be shared across the community. Some of these folks are like, how can we assist nonprofits? Some of these people are saying, I didn't know it existed, but now I do, and I can refer my neighbor. So I think we were trying to narrow it down to just specifically, and I'm for helping as many people as possible, but I think in this time, Vice Mayor said it very well. People are not aware, even though we make them aware, even though the nonprofits are there. And so it's also an opportunity for these folks who don't know, who are trying to find ways to help in the community, to understand in a broader perspective the resources that are available. So I just wanted to say that, because it's not necessarily that demographic that needs that immediate assistance. It's also the people that are trying to help folks to understand and navigate the resources that are available.
United Way now has a major campaign going now to raise money to help people, and that is not necessarily low-income people. There are people who have worked all their lives who now find themselves in that situation. So, and we've also partnered with them as well. You may see an electronic billboard that we have already put information out, that we're also partnering with them so they can put their information out, that there are people out there who do have money who are willing to give that to United Way to help raise money to help people for that. So it's a multifaceted campaign.
Just one last thing, and Mr. Wright, could we divide the question? I mean, just from the one. I appreciate all the other ones on here except just that one that I have a little trouble with.
Just to be clear, are you asking to make it a separate vote?
Yes, just to remove the COVID-19 awareness communication campaign that's on this CDBG funding.
Yes, sir. I mean, if you'd like to vote on it separately, I'm certainly comfortable with that.
Thank you very much.
So that's an amendment to vote them all except for the 339,990.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Councilmember Wright, if you could state your motion again.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm making a motion to approve all of the items on the list except for the communications and marketing proposal for $39,990, which I would suggest we vote on separately.
Thank you. And if there are no further discussions, Vice Mayor Dolan.
Yeah, I must disclose that I am on the board of LNCAG, and even though I don't receive any benefit from LNCAG, I can make an unbiased vote here tonight.
Thank you. And I need to disclose that as well, because I am too. So thank you very much for saying that, and I can be unbiased in this vote for assistance for the community. All right, thank you. If there are no, Councilmember Wilder?
Do we need a second for that, or was it come from a committee? Oh,
Right.
okay.
Yes. You did. So
That was really a friendly
the amendment to the first motion. All right. Thank you. Councilmember Nelson, we are taking a vote now. Aye. Councilmember Wilder?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright? Aye. Councilmember Pero? Aye. Councilmember Helgelson? Vice Mayor Dolan? Aye. And aye, and the motion passes unanimously. And Councilmember Wright, would you like to make the second motion?
Mayor, I will move that we also approve the $39,990 for the City Communications and Marketing COVID-19 Awareness Communications Campaign.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Dolan has seconded. Do you have further discussion? Either of you. Thank you. Is there any further discussion beyond what we've already had? All right, Councilmember Nelson, we're taking a voice vote. No. Okay. Councilmember Wilder?
Yes, aye.
Councilmember Wright? Councilmember Pero?
Aye.
Councilmember Helgelson? No. Vice Mayor Dolan? Aye. And ayes have it. Thank you. All right, thank you, and thank you all for all the organizations that will be assisting folks in the community. Thank you very much. Next is a public hearing to receive input from citizens regarding appointments or reappointments to vacancies that will exist June 30th, 2020 in school districts 1, 2, and 3. I will read the names of the 3 current school board members and the names of the citizens who have volunteered to serve on the school board and the school districts in which they live. And those persons will have an opportunity to come up or have a statement, to come up and speak to council or have a statement read on their behalf. So if you will give me a moment to first read the names. Current school board members to be reappointed or replaced: Dr. Robert Brennan, School District 1. He is willing to serve again. Dr. Kimberly Senna, School District 2, who is willing also to serve again. And Dr. James Coleman, School District 3, who is also willing to serve again. Current volunteers for School District 1 are Dr. Kathy Carwile, Mr. Brian Farrow, Mrs. Tracy Langseth. Next, for School District 2, volunteers are Ms. Consuela M. Mosley, Dr. Tony Riles, Ms. Christina M. Wilson. School District 3 is Ms. Cheryl Giggets, Mr. Andrew Glover, and Dr. Richard Heinlein. So I would like to first give Dr. Robert Brennan an opportunity to come before council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Tweedy, Vice Mayor Dolan, members of City Council. Thank you for letting me speak on my behalf for my reappointment to the Lynchburg City School Board. Since my initial appointment in 2017, I've made a concerted effort to fulfill my responsibilities that you have given me in 3 different levels of engagement. The first, that as a member of the school board, I've tried to work closely and conscientiously with my fellow school board partners. For example, during the past 3 years, I've attended all but 1 school board meeting and 1 work session. I also come to each meeting prepared to participate, having reviewed the agenda in detail. My second year on the board, I was selected as an alternate to the Finance Committee. My official role was to attend committee meetings only if needed. However, over the past 2 years, I've attended the majority of finance meetings in order to better understand the finances of Lynchburg City Schools. In my third year on the board, I was elected chairman of the Legislative Advocacy and Committee Relations Committee. In conjunction with my fellow committee members and in support of the school board, we drafted the first legislative agenda for Lynchburg City Schools that's been done in many years. The next level of engagement was as an individual board member. For the past 3 years, I've met with the principals of all 16 Lynchburg City Schools at the beginning of each academic year in order to understand what their needs are for the school year and see what way I can support them. At another level, as an individual community member, I tried to support the schools in a variety of ways. For every 2 weeks for the past 3 years, I've been a mentor at Deerington School for Innovation, where I read to one of the second grade classes, which has been a real treat for me. I also work with one of the students there in their reading. I've been part of the Embrace Our Schools, which is an organization of Lynchburg City School parents whose goal is to attract new families to Lynchburg City Schools with families who have kindergarten-aged children, and we have them meet informally with kindergarten teachers and principals to try to get them interested in our school system. Over the past 3 years, the Lynchburg City School Board has accomplished many major goals, including the hiring of Dr. Crystal Edwards as the new superintendent in 2018. We've also been successful in increasing the number of accredited schools for Lynchburg City Schools in 2019. However, we still have a lot of challenges ahead of us. Specifically, as we all know, our nation and our community is struggling with the effect of the COVID-19 epidemic. In a webinar last week, the Brookings Institute stated that our national education system will need to be reinvented to meet the challenges of the devastating effect of this pandemic on the children in our schools, particularly those children who are at greatest risk to become a victim of the achievement gap. I believe that the challenges that face Lynchburg City Schools in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic will require an extraordinary amount of effort, time, and personal commitment on the part of each member of the school board, as well as our school administration and staff. I hope that over the past 3 years, I've demonstrated that I'm willing to provide that level of commitment, and if reappointed for a second term, I promise to provide the highest level of service to our teachers, staff, and children.
Thank you. Dr. Kimberly Senha.
Madam Mayor, members of council, Well, thank you first for initially appointing me to the school board under some unusual situation, and then sort of reappointing me already for a full term. And so I'm here again seeking reappointment for a second term. And I appreciate the trust and confidence that you placed in me when you appointed me to the school board. My primary qualification, I guess, would be my experience having served for a term. And we've done a number of accomplishments, raising teacher salaries, which had been a long festering problem that hadn't been addressed, but we were finally able to. And during my term, I've seen the board become much more engaged and active. When I first was on the board, it seemed like we were pretty passive, and most everything was presentations and such. And now we're just much more hardworking and engaged. Every year, for example, I donate about 1 week of my paid vacation for school board type activities. When I sought my appointment initially, I noted my long career in higher education, where enrollment, student achievement, retention, graduation, academic quality, faculty quality are concerns that higher ed has in common with K-12. I've been frustrated at times by our limited role as a school board. We make and revise policy, we approve budgets, we hire a superintendent. I'm very proud of the hire we made with Dr. Crystal Edwards, and we advise. You've made good appointments to the board. There's good chemistry, strong work ethic, and plenty of energy and compassion. And I thank you for the opportunity that you have given me to serve our city in this capacity, and for your consideration as you deliberate this year's appointments. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. James Coleman.
To the distinguished members of the highly committed and hard-working Lynchburg City Council, Mayor Tweedy, Vice Mayor Dolan, Councilman Nelson, Councilman Wright, Councilman Wilder, Councilman Hegelson, and Councilman Perro, good evening. Councilman Perro, 6 years ago in this very chamber, I stood before then Mayor Gillette and the honorable members of that council requesting the privilege to be appointed to the Lynchburg City School Board. Little did I know how little I knew about the intricacies of shaping a local school division to meet the often complex needs of every student. The number of hours required to address the learning curve as it relates to board governance and protocols, policy, and budgeting is enormous. Now, after an ocean of accumulated hours in board meetings, work sessions, committee meetings, detailed budget reviews, interviews, public hearings, community events, and school visitations, now after 6 years on our school board, serving 3 of those years as vice chair under the able leadership of Michael Nillis and Susan Morrison, now after 3 years on the Virginia School Boards Association Board of Directors, reviewing financial structures and understanding the needs of school boards around the state, serving as the VSBA Southern Region Chair, member of the 2019-2020 DOE State Teacher of the Year panel, Executive Committee member, Virginia High School League, and currently as the Chair of the VSBA Legislative Advocacy and Federal Relations Committee. With this effort to learn more every day to effectively help the youth of our city, I once again humbly ask for the privilege to serve our community 3 more years as an advocate for kids on Lynchburg's City School Board. This will allow me to join my colleagues in strengthening the work we have continued from the labor of numerous school board members who passed the baton on to us. This will allow us to work with a dynamic superintendent we hired to move LCS forward in powerful policy and regulation implementation to increase our ADM and improve student discipline and achievement, in recruiting and retaining the best school personnel with region-leading pay, in courageously addressing equity issues, and in a COVID-19 world, expanding family and community engagement through all our partners. You know, it has often been said, tough times require tough people. Together we can, council and the school board, provide the best educational experience possible for our most precious resource, our kids. Thank you, Council, for the opportunity to address you tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman. Next, I believe Dr. Kathy Carwell will not be present, but is there a statement?
She did not submit a statement.
All right. Mr. Brian Farrow?
I do have one from him.
Thank you.
Dear Madam Mayor and council members, my name is Brian A. Farrow, and I am seeking a board seat for Lynchburg City Schools. I was born and raised in Lynchburg and an E.C. Glass High School alum. I've been married for 25 years and am the father of 4 Hilltopper graduates and 1 daughter who is currently enrolled in LCS as a first grader. I am very familiar with Lynchburg City Schools as I have served in many different capacities. I volunteered and mentored as a coach for many years with Parks and Recreation. I have coached for the school division for 9 years, with 6 of those at E.C. Glass collectively. I've also worked in the division as a head custodian, field coordinator, and instructional assistant as well. During my time working in the schools and also as a coach, I have seen the frustrations and heard many complaints from students about the structure of their days and how they feel that the teachers, staff can't relate to them or frankly don't care about them. The other issue that has been expressed to me is that school is boring. For some of our kids, the 6 hours spent at school each day is their only place of refuge and peace. I would like to see our students experience that refuge and peace while having fun learning and creating lasting memories of their school years. For a few years now, I've felt the tug or desire to advocate for our students in areas that I have personally felt has been neglected and needed. I just had no idea of how or where to start, other than the encouragement or advice that I've had the opportunity to provide when students confide in me. If given the opportunity to serve as a member of the school board, this will be my chance to start and be their voice for the very division where they spend the majority of their lives. Thank you for your time. I'll see you in the end zone.
Thank you very much.
I have a statement from Tracy Langseth.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Lynchburg City Council and Mayor Tweedy, I wish I could have been with you all this evening. Thank you for taking the time to consider my application. District 1 has incredibly talented and qualified board members. That must be said. So why would I apply? One lesson we have all been reminded of throughout this pandemic is that things can change in unexpected ways, and we never know with 100% certainty what lies ahead. So I am putting forth my application for consideration. I want to serve on the Lynchburg City School Board for 2 primary reasons. First, I love our community, and second, I have a strong desire to be an active participant in continuing to build and support the Lynchburg City Schools. My background is originally in early childhood education and later shifted into marketing and communications. I am currently the business manager of our family company, Langseth Engineering, and co-owner of Tor Biochar. Our companies focus on environmental needs, including renewable energy. I have been a Lynchburg resident for over 20 years, and all 4 of our children were born at Virginia Baptist Hospital. Our oldest is a recent college graduate, next a rising senior. Our 14-year-old is a rising freshman at E.C. Glass, while the youngest is a preschooler at Randolph College Nursery School. So yes, lots of experience with all the ages and stages, and that is right, we have a very active household. I currently serve as president of the board of directors for Randolph College Nursery School, as well as vice president of community for the Junior League of Lynchburg. I also serve on the COVID-19 Immediate Community Needs Task Force for the Junior League of Lynchburg. I have become immersed in our community at all levels, including connecting with women, children, families, local business owners, government agencies, and nonprofit organizations alike. I understand the diverse needs within our community and have a strong desire to bring about systemic social change. Sorry about that. As a school board member, I would be a genuine ear to hear the voice of the public while evaluating input with discernment and an eye toward the overall strategic plan, making recommendations that are fiscally responsible and ultimately serve our students who are our future. In conclusion, my love and passion for the community includes LCS students, families, faculty, and staff, and I seek to support teachers and equip students for a successful tomorrow. I offer community awareness and connection along with an understanding of the needs and constraints facing the families within our districts, particularly during this pandemic. I have the bandwidth to serve, and I am eager to learn and improve our schools and community to the greatest extent possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is for School District 2, volunteers Ms. Consuela M. Mosley.
I have a statement from her.
All right, thank you.
My name is Consuela Mosley. I will not be able to make the meeting, but I am still interested in the school board position of District 2. This is my third time running for the school board. I have been a Lynchburg native for the majority of 48 years. I have been a volunteer at Deerington Elementary School for 5 years. I am a member of Virginia Organizers B2P Legal Systems and a strong advocate against parental alienation of 10 years. My goal would be to help the achievement gap and find a better solution to suspensions except in extreme circumstances. Also, with a lot of education on parental alienation and children grieving the loss of loved ones, these tools can help solve the underlying reasons of why children are acting out. Having me as a school board representative, I can be a major impact on bringing solutions to these major two topics involved in the school system.
Thank you. Next is Dr. Tony Rawls.
I have a statement from him. Good evening, everyone. I first want to start by saying how grateful I am for this opportunity. Growing up, I was surrounded by educators, from my mother, who was a kindergarten teacher, to my grandfather, who taught brick masonry at my high school. It seemed that working in the field of education was in my blood. However, the love for education took years to stick. I saw the long days, nights, and weekends that came with the title of educator. It was not until my junior year of college that I realized the impact of education. From then on, I have been an advocate for students and the disparities that are prevalent in the educational system. I have worked in K-12 education as a teacher. I have also worked as a director for an educational nonprofit program, and I currently work in higher education as an advocate for students with disabilities and mentor first-generation college students in their transition from high school to college. From a financial budget management standpoint, I have managed budgets from $5,000 to $35,000. I have worked with organizations that employed solid financial budgets and plans, and conversely, I have also had the opportunity to learn and grow in organizations that did not have stable budgets. Through each of these experiences, I understand the value of financial management, and I have learned how to navigate and operate within various budget sizes. In my prior roles, I have managed staff, implemented curriculum, and worked in professional development for first-year teachers. I am a strong advocate for equity in education and believe strongly in empowering educators through cultural competency and diversity and inclusion training. I truly believe that every student, no matter their socioeconomic background or race, should have the opportunity for a quality education. Now I understand the reasons for the long hours I observed the educators in my family put in. The hard work and persistence was simply to leave the field of education better than they found it, and that is what I hope to do as a member of the school board. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Next is Ms. Christina M. Wilson.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Christina Wilson, and I was here last year giving the similar speech. My beliefs nor values haven't changed, and you'll probably hear a lot of the same points. Nonetheless, I still try to be as devoted to the community as I can be. I originally came from a small town in Pennsylvania, and I have been here for 5 years now. I am a single mother of a teenage ADHD child. It has been a struggle raising him, but I do not regret a second of it, and I do it all over. Raising a child with this disability has taught me many things, such as patience, and most importantly, that all children are different and that they all need talked to and disciplined in different ways. What one thing works for one child may not work for other children. I believe that children are the best part of this community. They are our future, and how we raise them now shapes what our future will become. I cannot express anymore how much children and their education mean to me. Everything I do is for the children. Every time I volunteer, I'm always doing something children related. I volunteered so much over the years that I was even recognized by a former president of the United States. I don't just talk about change, I make changes happen. I have written letters and made phone calls to the White House and to our governor whenever I see that there's change that I would like to comment about. I'm very persistent, part of the reason why I'm here now, and will continue to come as long as I'm a Lynchburg City member of this community. I will keep coming here to try to volunteer on the board to make changes. Not just any change, but changes that matter to the community. A few months back, I took part in trying to help Mike Bloomberg when he was in the presidential race. I don't just talk a good game, I give action. Our children with disabilities need our help more than anything. I am devoted to give them a better education and then more resources to become successful adults. If you want change, then please select me to help deliver change with the school board in this community, because our children matter too.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Thank you. Next for School District 3 is Ms. Cheryl Giggets. All right, thank you.
Ms. Giggets has 35 years of experience in management and 30 years in the wireless telecommunications industry, specializing in public safety communications and E911 services for local, state, and the federal government. After working over 15 years in a national A&E practice and 10 years in a global A&E practice, Ms. Giggets founded CTA Consultants based in Lynchburg, Virginia, and serves as principal consultant on projects of many sizes, ranging from single city-county systems to multi-jurisdiction regional systems and statewide systems across the United States. CTA's primary mission is communications technology advancement in public safety and science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education. CTA team members execute this mission by giving their time personally and professionally to the public safety, community, and STEM initiatives. CTA corporately executes this mission by investing 100% of our net profits over the life of the firm to first responder essential training and STEM education initiatives that encourage future innovation. Ms. Giggets serves in organizations with whom she shares a passion and dedication to their mission: Campbell County Rescue Squad Board of Directors, Innovate Lynchburg Technology Council Board of Directors, Future Focus Foundation Board of Directors, XLR8 STEM Academy Partnership Team, Central Virginia Governor's School Partner, Lynchburg Rotary, United Way of Central Virginia Review Team Chair, Cornerstone Property Owners Association Board of Directors. I believe the city of Lynchburg has a good educational foundation for our children, and I would like the opportunity to contribute to the good work in progress. I was first introduced to Dr. Crystal Edwards at a Lynchburg Rotary meeting, and I was quite interested in many of the ideas she proffered. I have also reviewed documentation from the school board. I note that a technology plan designed to integrate educational technology into the instructional programs of the school division, including the division's career and technical education programs, consistent with or as part of the comprehensive technology plan for Virginia adopted by the Board of Education. And I believe this is an area in which I can strongly contribute to the board. I have been a member of the Regional Technology Council for over a decade and have supported the local governor's school, the local governor's XLR8 STEM Academy, and currently an advisor for the CVCC CTE Academy. There is a possibility for a strong synergy between the Lynchburg City School Board and the Technology Council to promote the use of technology in our school system. I can bring to the board insights to pressing problems in education and provide solutions that can help teachers and administrators to succeed. Additionally, I have access through a wide range of industry connections that may be able to help reduce fiscal financial costs and provide insights that will result in saving tax dollars while equipping our schools with the right resources. I submit that I may be able to provide a new perspective, especially as it relates to the use of technology in our schools, to the benefit of the board and our school superintendent. I further submit that if it is not the desire of City Council to invite my participation on the school board, given the strong representation currently in place, I offer to facilitate discussions between the school board and our Regional Technology Council to provide resources and industry connections to education organizations.
All right, thank you. Mr. Andrew Glover.
Good evening, honorable members of the council. My name is Andrew Glover. I'm a city resident of Ward 4 and would like to formally express my interest in being appointed to the Lynchburg City School Board. I've been a city resident for the last 4 years after my wife and our 2 boys moved here from the state of Vermont for work and economic opportunity. With our 3rd child on the way, I can honestly say that Lynchburg is our home, and I really can't imagine raising my family anywhere else in this country. 2 years ago, my son entered kindergarten at Heritage Elementary School, where there were 5 kindergarten classes crammed to capacity with young and vibrant kids. While the school did seem to get by, it was clear from week 1 that they didn't have the resources, staff, facilities, or support to abundantly serve and nurture the kids in the way that they deserved. Today, my kids attend, both my boys attend TC Miller, which has been significantly better, but the opportunities to improve abound. These experiences are ultimately what propelled me to submit my school board application. Instead of the city electing laymen into these positions, our city council appoints the school board members. The benefit to this process is that the school board consists of highly educated and accomplished individuals. In fact, over half of our current school board have their doctorates or terminal degrees. That's awesome. That's a great thing, but it has one significant cost. And that's the lack of board members who are also parents of current school kids actively in the system. You are all members and community leaders, so you must recognize that like an iceberg, the school board can only be aware of the problems that surface above the waters. Yet foundational elements of that school iceberg exist to greater extents below the surface unobservable, unless you're in the school on a daily basis, like our teachers, school administrators, and most importantly, our parents. My district representation is currently comprised of 100% doctors of various disciplines. Great individuals, but not one of them has a student actively in the school system. While I may not be a doctor, I did graduate magna cum laude with a BS in business administration. Currently, I serve as the vice president of marketing strategy at Valtim Marketing Solutions, where I work with logistics solutions for large cause-based organizations like the Red Cross, USO, World Vision, and many others. I'm additionally a Forbes Magazine Communication Council leader and a contributor where I write on leadership and communication topics, and I'm an active participant in my church where I serve on the sound and AV teams. I'm regularly one of the first to show up and one of the last to leave. I'm afraid I'm running out of time, but my professional resume is on file with the council's clerk, along with several letters of recommendation. With my last 5 seconds, I do want to discuss one thing that's not on that resume. I'm a father. That's the most important job there is. Please let me serve my family and my community by representing District 3 as the only district representative with children actively in the school system. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next is Dr. Richard Heinlein.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, and distinguished members of the council. My name is Dr. Rick Heinlein, and I just want to talk to you about maybe a new perspective. When I was privileged to serve as a community outreach and education pastor in Northern Virginia, I was able to place 4 tutoring centers in 4 separate Section 8 housing projects. And occasionally I would drop by on certain evenings to our centers and join the volunteers in assisting our center's children in their assignments. This day just happened to be an interim report day, and I knew that because 2 of my children were in that same public school system. And so I asked our kids in the center, who has their report cards? One by one, they lined up in front of me like I was Santa Claus at the mall with their report cards. Big smiles. Sure, many of the grades were not so good, but some of them even went out to the dumpster to get theirs just to show me. Grades that night were not the point. Connection was. They were expressing universal needs. Like us, they wanted to be seen, they wanted to be heard, and they wanted to be believed. And when we think about education, it is ultimately what that's about. Giving our next generation a voice, and with that voice, the grades will come. I went to public school in Virginia, so have all 4 of my children. My daughter this year is graduating from Heritage High School and was voted prom queen, was voted the captain of her varsity soccer team, and is the valedictorian of her class, and now heading to UVA to study big germs, which is pretty appropriate for now. She, like her siblings, thrived in the public school system. 2 of my children, brilliant in their own ways, received the benefit of thoughtful IEPs and 504 plans because of the unique challenges they face in a traditional school setting. It was not easy for any of them, but their capacity for individual expression made all the difference. Again, it's all about perspective. I personally chose to enlist after high school, but later in my life, I went on to earn 6 university degrees, the last a doctorate in pastoral counseling. I have multiple certifications in counseling, fitness, nutrition, behavioral sciences, and have been ordained as a minister. However, the point of my education and training has always been to reach people where they are and connect with them in relationship across cultural, economic, racial, and orientational borders. This is what our school administrators, teachers, coaches, and even parents have an opportunity to do each day, and I want to support that in all of them. I have witnessed how accessible education loosens the grip of poverty. I saw this when I served in Southeast DC, in Manassas with Child Protective Services, also with the Health and Human Services, and while working with Title I school principals facing unique challenges, and as an FCA chaplain in 3 inner-city schools, 1 even in Texas. I have seen this same marvel of education in the Dominican Republic, Rwanda, and all around the world personally. And now as the volunteer chaplain at the Lighthouse Missionary House Community Center in Lynchburg, the power of education will also be the answer. I close with this. I believe that education is not just about the mind, but the whole child. Yes, intellect for sure, but the physical, emotional, and spiritual child are all part of their public school experience. This is the perspective I want to bring to our Lynchburg community, so our next generation will flourish in this challenging and often very, very difficult world. It's all about bringing perspective. I say this in all humility. As a school board member, I will bring my unique and I believe value-added and new perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Council will now hear from any citizens present who would like to comment upon any name that has been submitted or offer additional names for consideration. Please state your name and locality of residence for the record. Is there anyone who would like to comment on any of the persons who have stood before us or any of the names that have volunteered on the list? All right, thank you. Not hearing from anyone. Council, what is your pleasure? We have 2 options, just to remind everyone. 1, to continue the public hearing until June 9th to allow more time to receive names of volunteers, or 2, to close the public hearing and consider candidates in the closed session. Councilmember Wright?
Madam Mayor, I move that we close the public session and move this to closed hearing.
All right, thank you. Motion has been made and second. Are there any further questions, information that you'd like to share, discussion?
Madam Mayor, in the past, we've sometimes had a very slim slate of candidates, and we've kept it open in order to encourage others to come forward. I think it's positive under these circumstances where mobility is limited that we have such a broad slate. So I think we've got some very good candidates to look at and don't need to keep it open for others.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Wright, did you have anything to add?
I agree with Councilmember Nelson.
All right, any further discussion? Councilmember Pero.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do agree with Councilmember Nelson. We do have a good group, but in the past, we've traditionally left it open for 2 meetings just because of this interaction in itself just raises awareness and may bring forward other people. If we close the public hearing, as you know, there'll be no more applications accepted because the names have to be read in public. I'm very pleased with the list of candidates that we have currently, but I would suggest we could still talk about it a little bit tonight and talk about who we want to interview and so forth, but maybe just hold it open would be my recommendation for one more meeting and close it after that. And I'll tell you what, I'll just submit that as a substitute motion.
I'll second it.
All right, that motion has been submitted as a substitute. Is there any further discussion on that? All right, Councilmember Hagelson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I do appreciate Councilmember Nelson and Wright's perspective on this, because we do have lots of applicants. We have 10 applicants, 3 current applicants that are willing to serve again, so a total of 13. But, you know, in this kind of time frame, I think it doesn't hurt. We are scheduled to go into a closed session anyway tonight, and if somebody submits an application, great. It's just a normal, I think, protocol that kind of leaves it open since this is the first time really discussing this openly. So.
Councilmember Wright, followed by Vice Mayor Dolan. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to make a sort of just a clarification for those who are in the room who have submitted their applications. If we do leave it open, it wouldn't be required of them to come back and present again to council.
Correct.
So I want to make sure, just to folks in the room, that if we do in fact leave it open, you're not obligated to come back and present again.
And just even further clarification, I believe that we wouldn't even have it still be a public hearing. I mean, so all they could do is submit. It wouldn't be an open period of time. They could just submit an application. We were not going to have an open session again, right?
Well, there would be, the public hearing would be continued, so there would be the opportunity for
them
people
to come back.
to introduce themselves or have people speak for them
At the
next meeting.
Correct, because it would still be open through the
Because it's
process. Vice Mayor Dolan.
So my only concern is whether or not we're giving ourselves enough time to schedule interviews.
What's the deadline? Do we need to have this by June 30th?
Yes.
Yes.
So if we begin it, if you schedule an interviews now, and then if we get any more applications, we can add them into the mix. But
I think we should go ahead and start scheduling.
yeah, tonight. I thought.
Right. Councilmember Nelson.
I stand by what I said before, but also I recall what I said at a meeting at E.C. Glass High School in the auditorium back in January, that no legislator got in trouble because they listened to their constituents too much. And I would agree with what's been said by Councilmember Pero and Helgeson, that it can't hurt to hear from somebody if they want to submit another application.
All right. Any further discussion? Are you prepared to vote on the second motion? Thank you. Councilmember Nelson? Aye. Councilmember Wilder?
No.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Pero?
Aye.
Councilmember Hegelson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dolan? Aye. And aye. So we will continue the process. Applications can be submitted.
Yeah, we need to vote the motion.
Right.
Substitute motion.
Right. So the motion, substitute motion.
Substitute motion just became the main motion. Now we need,
Right.
and that is, there's. any
To
discussion?
continue, correct. Councilmember Nelson. Aye. Councilmember Wilder.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Pero.
Aye.
Councilmember Hegelson. Vice Mayor Dolan. All right, aye. And the motion passes. All right. All right, next is, so staff, you all okay with that? You got what's going on? Okay, thank you. Public comments. During public comments, individual speakers have 3 minutes to speak, and those representing a group have 5 minutes to speak. Typically, City Council takes comments made during the public comment section of the agenda under advisement and may refer concerns to the city manager for follow-up. Next, we'll hear from a citizen regarding a concern. Joshua Pratt.
I've edited it since I've been here.
Okay. Oh, wow. Thank you.
You know, I'm coming to you tonight. Well, thank you so much for letting me be here tonight to have 3 minutes of your time. My name is Joshua Daniel Pratt. I'm the owner of BRT Transportation. We're the only charter bus service within 60 miles of Roanoke, Charlottesville. We're it. We're the company that provides field trips for Lynchburg City Schools. And as of March 13th, when city schools ceased to do field trips, our revenue went to zero. As of March 11th, we've been in a horrible financial situation with zero revenue, negative revenue, also when deposits are being asked to be returned. But I'm not here tonight for me. We're okay. We got the PPP, we got the EIDL, so we're going to do okay, except our industry will probably be the last to open, which is the motor coach industry. We were the first to shut down. But again, I'm not here tonight. I'm here on behalf of small businesses and the residents of Lynchburg to ask you to please consider a property tax relief for businesses and residents of Lynchburg due to these circumstances that we are all going through. It's been said that we're in this together. The businesses and the business community is suffering greatly. We've had to lay people off, which means there's less jobs. It means less people are working. Tonight, some of the scratches I did, I heard some nonprofits getting some money tonight. I heard the fire department congratulated. Chief, it's always good to see you. I think it's wonderful that the resources are there to fund things like the nonprofits that were talked about tonight. But it's the businesses that produce that revenue for you to give to those nonprofits. So if we're truly going to be all in this together, I'm asking that you would consider tax relief. It's estimated that the property, vehicle, and tools tax, which is personal property tax, generates approximately $18 million a year. So if you would consider, please, cutting that in half and not requiring and not collecting and not assessing 1.5 year of property tax on behalf of small businesses and on behalf of the residents of Lynchburg. I believe that this would create a truly we're all in this together scenario. What else? I love Lynchburg. I even heard some school board people talk today. I've been here since 2002. I love it here. My business is here. My family's here. And I love the community that we have here as far as small businesses. There's some great places that have opened up in the past 5 years. Downtown's actually somewhere we want to go. So my time is up. Thank you. Please consider tax relief for the businesses and residents of Lynchburg. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt. Next is general business. This section includes general items of new business. Number 11, consideration of introducing a resolution to amend the fiscal year 2020 general fund ambulance service fees budget and appropriate $116,677 with resources from the 2020 Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, or CARES, Stimulus Act Provider Relief Fund to offset loss of revenue related to COVID-19 transports. And Chief Wormser will do a brief presentation.
Good evening again, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of council. We brought this to the Finance Committee earlier today. Through the Department of Health and Human Services, we've secured a $116,000 grant, which, unlike some of the other grants that we've received recently, there's no match necessary, and this money can go directly towards lost revenue. So our intention is to use the $116,000 in its entirety to increase revenue for ambulance billing and for transports that we can no longer bill or currently cannot bill under the CARES Act to directly bill the patients. We can still directly bill insurance companies and other entities and third parties. We just cannot bill directly to the patients.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Wormser. This did go to the Finance Committee today, May 26th, and so I'll turn to the Finance Chair, Councilmember Hegelson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I will turn to Councilmember Nelson on this one since he took part of this, so if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Helgeson. Yes, this morning I was presiding over the Finance Committee at the time this issue came before it. I think the chief has summarized it effectively. It essentially allows the city to recoup bills for which it would not otherwise be paid because of the regulations of the CARES Act prohibiting the city from directly billing an individual who was transported by the fire department to receive treatment. And so this gives us an opportunity to fill that gap that otherwise would exist.
Thank you. There's no second needed. Is there any further questions or discussion?
Just a quick question. So this literally is a space, it fills the space or the gap from lost revenues.
That's correct, yes. So, and myself, along with the remainder of my team, will certainly be looking into other opportunities as we move forward that can fill those gaps and provide funding where we've had lost revenue or lost resources.
Thank you. Councilmember Wilder?
Just so I can understand, so during this time period, you're not allowed to bill during COVID, or just is it COVID-related cases or all cases?
So part of the CARES Act says that we cannot direct bill patients that have been affected by COVID. There's some loose language there that you have to sort of get into the meat of the matter. So the great news about not being able to direct bill patients is that we received this grant so that we can, provide that lost revenue to the city.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. No further questions. All right. We'll take a voice vote. Councilmember Nelson?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilder?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Pero?
Aye.
Councilmember Helgeson? Vice Mayor Dolan? And I also will vote, so the motion passes. Thank you very much. Next is consideration of introducing a resolution amending the fiscal year 2020 Stormwater Operating Fund budget and appropriate up to $59,755 with resources from the North American Association for Environmental Educators, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, 21st Century Community Learning Center Watershed STEM Education Partnership Grant. Mr. Mitchell, I said it for you. There you go.
So thank you for that summary. This is a grant that it's a national grant, nationally competitive grant that we applied for, and we didn't have any idea that we would receive it, but it's actually a great opportunity for our staff to work directly with the city school system and create programs for 4th and 5th graders. It'll engage at least 140 students over the next 2 years, and also their parents. It's extracurricular, so it's after hours and after school hours and during the summer. And also will provide professional development hours for teachers. So it's a very, very good grant. There's no local match other than our staff time, so be glad to answer any questions. It will also help our stormwater program meet the requirements of our stormwater permit, because we have to do public outreach and education as well as public engagement, so it'll help meet those requirements as well.
All right, thank you very much. This did go to the Finance Committee today, so I'll turn to our chair, Councilmember Hegelson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And this, I was there at this time, and you summarized it well, and Mr. Mitchell summarized it well, and the Finance Committee recommended approval.
Thank you. There's no second needed, and any further discussion? All right, Vice Mayor Dolan, did you have anything? All right, thank you. I will ask for a voice vote. Councilmember Nelson?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilder? Aye. Councilmember Wright? Aye. Councilmember Pero? Aye. Councilmember Hegelson? Aye. Vice Mayor Dolan? And I also will vote, so thank you very much. And the motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Next is consideration of introducing a resolution amending the fiscal year 2020 Water Fund operating budget to increase revenues by $57,561 with resources from the liquid aluminum sulfate class action settlement. And Mr. Mitchell will present us with information again.
All right, this also went to the Finance Committee today, and this is a result of, as you mentioned, the class action lawsuit between a number of water utilities against a number of chemical companies that conspired to bid rig and price fix over the period of multiple decades. So total that we will have received will exceed $200,000. This and previous receipts have been handled in third quarter adjustments. So this is really just to amend this year's budget based upon new settlements we've received recently.
Okay. All right, thank you. This again went to Finance Committee today, and I'll turn to Councilmember Hegelson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And this, as you stated, the class action lawsuit for aluminum sulfate, and I don't think there was anything else to add to it, this amount is going to be utilized in the budget, and it comes as a recommendation from the Finance Committee.
All right, thank you. There's no second needed. Any further discussion? Councilmember Para.
I've never seen a class action lawsuit that is amounted to anything except like a couple of cents. I once got a check for like 5 cents in the mail for one of them. I mean, so this is a tremendous amount that's coming to the city. So that they must have really been putting those screws on municipalities.
Larger utilities are receiving significantly more than we did, but we worked with an attorney, Aqualaw, Chris Pomeroy, and another firm as well on this, so it's worked out well.
Excellent.
Yep.
Well done.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Nelson? Aye. Councilmember Wilder?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright? Aye. Councilmember Para?
Aye.
Councilmember Hegelson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dolan? Aye. And I will vote aye as well. Thank you very much. Next is consideration of a closed meeting to consider appointments and scheduling for Lynchburg City School Board interviews and for the discussion and consideration of prospective candidates for the position of city manager pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia. May I have a motion to go into a closed meeting?
Second.
All right, the motion has been moved and second, and